Yo, fuck game collecting.
You may be saying, Tom, you can't say that. You're on a video game channel where you talk about games. How could you feel that way? Well, for me, playing these games isn't so much the issue. It's more buying, looking, setting up, and finding a place to put these games. So basically, it's everything besides the contents within the games I'm collecting. Look, this might be more of a me issue, but I have a feeling some people can relate to this.
We can first start out with the buying process because, oh my god, it's a nightmare.
Now this one mostly depends on where you live. If you live in a small town, you're more likely to find some local game stores carrying some retro games. If you live in a city, it's more rare, but they are still there. If you live in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, then, well, you're not getting much. I happen to live in New York, but not the city. I live in the borough called Staten Island, which is the equivalent to buttfuck nowhere. All we have here is some GameStops and a mall that's always getting redone. So when it comes to me buying some retro games, I have to rely on going out of my borough for a mom and pop shop or go to a convention. The one that I usually go to that is in the state is New York Comic Con. Meanwhile, the one I recently went to that was out of state was Too Many Games. You see, places like these are fine for game collecting because you can often find some people willing to knock down the price a few bones if they know you'll make a purchase. Too Many Games is where I also got to meet a bunch of my favorite YouTubers, so that was kind of neat too. But you may be saying, Tom, you dumb little boy, you don't need to go on a whole adventure just to buy some games. You can do all of this through the wonderful worlds of online shopping.
Okay, yeah, but there's just one tiny problem, just a little tiny problem with that. I don't like online shopping.
I do online shopping when I need things like lights or a new monitor. I don't like doing that for game collecting though. It feels like a cheap way out, you know, taking the fun out of finding the game in the wild. Cause why make it thrilling when you can just press a button and it's right there at your doorstep? I tend to do the online route when it comes to consoles. Say I want to get me a Virtual Boy, I find it better just to look for it online. In the wild, I could find it cheaper, but I would risk my dumb ass breaking the thing on the way home. With sites like eBay or Amazon, if my product is broken, I can blame it on someone else and get my money back. You may say it's literally the same thing as buying an actual game, but finding a rare and obscure game is much more satisfying than finding a Virtual Boy in the wild. So of course, I'm gonna prefer actually finding the games rather than the consoles.
But hey, it doesn't matter where I go or what I buy at that place, because no matter what it is, I will always have a problem with the price.
Seriously, look, I'm very new to game collecting, but why can't 6 very similar looking copies of Smash 64 all cost different prices? Like, is the cheaper one more faulty than the rest? If that's the case, why even sell it? Not only that, but 90% of the time, it's the shitty stuff that tends to be more expensive. I found a Virtual Boy in the wild for 300 bucks. With that kind of money, I can buy a brand new Nintendo Switch. But they know I won't because I'm not looking for that kind of stuff. A copy of Earthbound with just the cartridge alone is $240 fucking dollars. That's only because it's rare, I know, but with the cartridge alone being that much, how much is it in the original big ass box with the guide?
Jesus! Well, I mean, who needs a house to live in anyway?
So buying the games is one thing. Now I need a place to put my entire Xbox game collection. Now I know that these games deserve the utmost quality of living conditions, and so that's why most of them spend their time in my armoire with all my clothes. Listen, my room is small. There's not much room for fucking anything. I mean, it's probably because of this queen-size bed, but white privilege is a bitch, I'll tell you. I've been living in this room for 18 years, and displaying my games has been a fucking annoyance. First, let's start with my retro games. Like I said, it's within the armoire, and I'm not too big on that. While my clothes are the priority for this thing, these games were put here because they were a good fit, and I have nowhere else to put them. Also, yes, I understand games being in front of others is a sin, but I'm left with no other choice. For more modern games, ones that aren't cartridge-based, they are stored in bins under my bed. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this either. I'm more of a keep it on the shelf for both display and use, but like I said, there's no room for that.
Maybe I could put it over here. Yeah, that seems good. So anyway, oh shit.
But games are only a part of the equation. I have consoles too, and thankfully those I can display. I have these cubby holes allowing me to display my consoles for all generations. And thankfully enough, they all fit. Ah, dang it. So yeah, my latest addition to my console collection is the original Xbox. And while the thing is already not in great condition, it doesn't fit where I display my shit. So now I have to move around my old consoles and put my Xbox under my desk, making all the wire management worse than it's already been.
Speaking of the wire management, setting up these things is like a goddamn experiment.
If you think I'm stupid enough to plug in all my consoles into this one power strip, you're wrong. They're actually plugged into this power strip that's plugged into the same janky power outlet as the other one. If my house burns down, you know why. I mean, when you have many consoles, you want to be able to play them all at any time. Before this power strip, I would have to take out my console, find the AC adapter, plug it all in, and plug it into my capture card and start playing. Now it's plug in the strip, switch on the consoles, and make sure it's hooked up to the capture card. If any of that wasn't a first world problem, then the world's fucked. Also, you may have heard me say plug this thing into my capture card and not my TV. This is because I can't have my TV plugged in while the power strip is plugged in. So I'm sitting in an office chair playing these games.
You haven't had true back problems unless you've played games in an office chair or until when you've contracted scoliosis. I mean, that one's just a given.
I really wish I could play these games on a couch with a TV and listening to it without the use of headphones. I like playing games like that, but when you're in your room doing all this, there's just some things you can't have, and that includes more Xbox games. I feel like this is the biggest problem with my setup. While some can game like this, I'm more of a sit back with a blanket and a controller in your hands, just taking things as they are until you die a bunch and then you get frustrated at everything.
But hey, you may be thinking that this is just all me, that these are just my problems, that only I am dealing with them. Well, to prove you wrong, I got the most awake YouTuber I know, and that is IndieJacob. Jacob? Jacob! Jacob!
Fine. Collecting video games can be one of the most satisfying, yet annoying experiences out there. On the one hand, you feel like your sweet treasure-stealing boy, Nathan Drake. But on the other hand, you just kind of feel like you might be spending a bunch of money on something that could be used for something else like investing or paying off that thing called student loan debt. I, for one, absolutely adore finding that one game I've been searching for a while, because you get this wave of like euphoria that comes over you that's sweeter than sweet tarts dipped in brown sugar. God, that's disgusting to think about. I think the most frustrating thing about collecting games, for me personally, has got to be the availability at places. I cannot even begin to tell you how long I've spent looking for a copy of Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem for the game box. It's literally all I was looking for the entire time I was at Too Many Games this year, but did I see a copy of it? No, that's why it's on the script. You see, I have this problem where I see a game out there in the wild for like a fairly decent price, and then I get it in my mind that it's gonna be pretty easy to find, and then I debate getting it, but I don't pick it up, and then I literally never see it again. It's this horrible vicious cycle that I go through. It happened to me with Illusion of Gaia on the SNES, Mario Party 3 on the 64, and you guessed it, Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem for the GameCube. Oh, hey Tom.
Yeah?
I got a copy of Earthbound.
What, you think that's gonna make me angry? This is gonna make me upset? Like I'm gonna get annoyed or something? I don't know who you think I am, but if you don't give me that fucking copy of Earthbound, I'm gonna shove your so far up your Well, thank you, Jacob, for making me a little bit annoyed. But even with all of that, you may be saying, why start now? Why collect these games now, and why not wait till everything's in place, you know? Till I have the things that I have, so I can play these games properly. Well, things are just a little different when it comes to game collecting.
I'm all about preserving this medium because it's not like movies or TV shows. These games were made with a specific hardware in mind, and you can't just slap it onto another piece of hardware without tinkering the fuck out of it. I know the longer I wait to start cracking down on the games that I want to own, the more that they will cost, and the more rare that they'll get. For some games, this isn't true, seeing as they are still common, like Pitfall or Mario 64. But for games like Super Mario RPG and Earthbound, it's safe to say that they will only rocket in price. Plus, I have no way of knowing my own conditions for this kind of stuff. Hopefully, I will have a room just for my games alone, and maybe that room can have a TV and a couch to play those games on like I dream. But if it isn't, I just have to make the most out of it right now.
But as of right now, I'm stuck in this little space, and while it might be a little inconvenient, it's still a little cozy. So with that, I should really find a place to put my Xbox games. Let's see, oh, right there.
Huge thank you to IndieJacob for being in this video. He didn't have to do it, he didn't have to be here, but he was, and I'm very grateful for it, you know? And if you haven't checked out his stuff or you don't know who he is, go check him out. He's pretty underrated in the YouTube scene.